Hey, what's going on, guys? So the new anime series, Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury, is set to begin airing in Japan in October. And we got a bunch of new information about the kits that are coming out from the series, as well as information about the series itself, some characters, and we got some new video from the series. So I want to take a look at all of that in today's video. So getting right into it, guys, first off we got to look at the prologue and a new trailer. So we got some new video from this series. I will say, just as far as what we can tell from the series so far, I will say the animation looks really good. I like the character designs. The Gundam designs, like the mobile suit designs, I think in the anime, I think do look pretty cool. I'm not sure how well I'm really going to enjoy them as like kits. That's yet to be seen, just for my personal taste. But I will say that my initial impression of the character designs and the mobile suit designs is really reminding me a lot of Reconquista and G, and also, especially more so in the mobile suit designs, Iron Blooded Orphans. And I think you'll see that especially in some of the designs in particular. I'll mention that as we're taking a look at these upcoming kit releases. But like taking a look through the character designs, I think they're very reminiscent of Eureka 7, and that was the same thoughts that a lot of people had when Reconquista and G came out, is that they were very similar character designs to what people had recognized from that series. But I will say, for the two who seem to be kind of like the main characters for the start anyways, Soleta Mercury and Murine Rembrandt, I believe is the correct pronunciation of that, I really like both of their character designs. Murine especially, it looks really cool. I do really like this Wendy character who seems to be cosplaying as a Combuskin or something. But getting into the actual releases of some stuff coming out, before we get to all the HG stuff that's coming out, that's the main bulk of it. We do have the Chogokin Gundam Aerial is going to be coming out in January. This one, they haven't released too much information on it yet. We have this promotional image of it, and there's also some images of it on display at the Gundam base. We're supposed to be getting more information on this on July 28th, it looks like. That's probably when we'll see some more images of what exactly this will be coming with, its accessories and all that, more than just kind of what we can see in this image. But as a typical Gundam Chogokin figure, it's probably going to be pretty expensive. I would expect this to be over $100 probably. Looks to be like it's going to be roughly 1/100 in scale, and not sure if it's going to include any sort of like LEDs inside it that will light up the sections of like the chest. I don't think so. It doesn't appear to be the case so far. But again, there's more information yet to come on this, and so we'll just kind of have to wait and see. But of course, it's all going to be pre-painted, and you have like all the decals pre-printed and everything on there. It's basically like a metal build of sorts. So if you didn't want to wait for a master grade and you wanted something that's already like all painted and finished for you, it is a good option that you could go ahead and look forward to in January. We do also have, on the figure side of things, the Robot Damashi version anime version of the Gundam Aerial that's also coming out. This one, we do have a bunch of promotional images that have been out for a few days already, I think. This one, you can see all of the effect parts for the shield, as that seems to be a theme that they're going with for at least the first couple of Gundams out in this series, that they have shields that break into a bunch of different bits, and the bits can be then reattached onto the Gundam or used as just separate flying bits that can fly around and shoot lasers out of them. So that seems to be like what they're going for, not only for the Gundam Aerial, but also for the Gundam Lifrith, which we'll take a look at here in just a second. But so you'll have these effect parts for displaying that, and that's kind of like going to be the main draw of this, like the real exciting point of this figure. You can see what these look like on display there at the Gundam base. It looks pretty cool. You just got effect parts all over the place though. For me, I find that kind of a little bit distracting, but it is a cool look. It's also coming with the beam saber and the beam effect part for the gun, which is similar, but looks a little bit different than what you get with the HG version of it. So it's kind of interesting, the differences between the two and just kind of how the effect parts look. So let's go ahead and get into the HG releases then. For some of these, we did also have the mention that I guess we're going to be getting some more information on these July 20th for a couple of them, but at least for like the first couple of releases, we've already known about these for a little while now, a couple months seems like. We got some more information on these, so they're just sticking with the Gundam Aerial theme. Not only do we just have more images of what the kit is going to look like when it's all built and painted up, but more details about the different gimmicks and everything built into that. So like I mentioned before, its shield breaks up into 11 different segments that then can be reattached onto the Gundam, or you can have them flying around. And I'm not sure about this one, if we've got any word about what kind of effect parts the HG is going to be coming with. You can see in the display of the Gundam base there that it has all of the effect parts with it flying around. Certainly not as impressive as the effect parts that come with the Robot Damashi version of it, but Effect parts for the bits aside, the effect of the actual clear plastic parts for like the glowing bits in the kit do look really cool, and this does seem to be something that they're really wanting to showcase about this kit, is how this is printed. It looks like, and it's kind of hard to tell just based on the Japanese translation of it, that it's like printed in the plastic, sort of. So it's not like printed on top of the plastic like you would have like a pre-painted part, sort of like the eyes on like a Mecha Musume type kit. But somehow this is like printed in the plastic to really give it that kind of more realistic look, I guess. And then I think that you also have the option of just like black clear parts for when it's inactive, I guess. So that seems to be what the options are going to be for this. But it looks very interesting, and I'm really happy that they've gone with something like that rather than just a sticker. If it would have been, you know, just a foil sticker you put on there, it wouldn't have been all that exciting, I think. So, you know, this is pretty cool. They're trying something new with this, you know, always pushing some new innovations in their technology. So that's really cool. One thing about the stickers that are included with this is that at least some of the stickers that you have for these effects are like double-sided stickers. So that's going to be where it's like chrome on the back. And so when you look at it from the front, from the other side, it's like kind of clear, transparent, or it's more glowing, it appears, I guess. And there is going to be a few color correcting stickers on there. It looks like just based on the design, it can tell probably where there's going to be color apps. It is an HGF draw that are not going to be represented by actual parts, but you will have a few kind of typical color correcting stickers on there. It's pretty standard for an HG, so there will be a little bit of that, it looks like. Interestingly, the release date for this is set to be in October for 1,300 yen. So first of all, 1,300 yen, very nice price for that. It's quite cheap. And the October release date makes sense because that's when the series is starting. But the next couple releases that we have, the Gundam Lefrith and the Belgier Bio, are set to be released in August, 2 months earlier, and then there's nothing coming out in September as far as I can tell, if I'm understanding these release dates correctly. So we got 2 kits coming out in August, not the main kit. That one's coming out later in October, and then everything else is kind of on from October, November, December is what we have for the time being. So taking a look at the Gundam Lefrith, basically all of the same gimmicks and features that we have with the Gundam Aerial also apply to this one. It's just obviously a little bit different design. So you have this large shield which breaks up into multiple different segments, which then can be set to be flying around, or then can be reattached onto the Gundam, especially onto the backpack, which looks pretty cool with all the bits attached onto there. One of the bits also plugging into the rifle to make it more of like a longer type rifle. And it also has the same deal with like the clear effect parts in it and everything. So this one looks really cool. I almost kind of prefer the design of this one over the Gundam Aerial, even though the Aerial is like the main protagonist mobile suit of the series. I do kind of prefer the design of the Lefrith, I have to say. It's got some more interesting design features for me personally. I really like it. I do really like the look of all the bits attached as the shield, but I don't really like the look of the backpack when it's empty, so I think I might have to just like get 2 of this kit so that it can have a shield and have the fully loaded up backpack, because I think that would look best just for how I would like the look of this. But it looks very cool, and just like with the Gundam Aerial, I didn't really mention it, but both of these HGs have this same type of effect part for like a blue clear effect part that comes out of the gun. So you can basically use the gun as a like large beam sword, which looks pretty cool as well. Moving on then to the Belgier Bu, which I can assume is going to be the main antagonist mobile suit for the start of the series, is how it just kind of appears based on its appearance anyway. Some really interesting gimmicks and features built into this one as well. It doesn't have the same aspect of like a shield that breaks up into bits, but rather it has these big balls on the back of it that go out on wires. So this is going to be a kit that's obviously going to include some wires then for those, and you will have to use this with display stands. This one I can assume will include at least like the small display stands for attaching those balls onto. Really cool and unique design for this one. Some very interesting design aspects, including the beam sabers that it has like as like melee weapons, just like attached onto its hand or handheld. I'm guessing that those are going to be something that you can take out of the hand for it to be able to hold on to other things as well. In order to be able to give those beam weapons to another kit is what I mean. It's not like molded together with the hands. It's not something that's going to replace the hands, but it looks to be like it's just a normal handheld weapon. This one as well, utilizing some clear parts, not exactly in the same way, and it looks like on the head, it's kind of hard to tell based on the pictures, but it kind of looks like that on the head, those parts that kind of look like the cross in the middle and like 2 like kind of bug eyes on the side, looking like those are probably going to be stickers. Kind of hope not, but that's kind of how it's looking, or at least there's going to be some stickers involved for those. Like we've seen with the other 2 kits, where it actually like showed the sticker sheet, or at least with the Gundam Aerial, you can actually see the sticker sheet in one of the promo images. This one, we don't see what the sticker sheet is going to look like, so we don't know yet, and probably won't know until the kit is out, but I can assume this one as well is going to have at least a few stickers, probably for like that vent section kind of in the center of the backpack there as well. I can assume probably going to be a couple of stickers there for that too. But for like the front of the hips, the front of the chest, the shoulders, and like the backpack where it looks like those are going to be your clear parts, and you'll probably will have some stickers that will go underneath on like the main part, and then you put the clear part on top of the sticker there, is what I'm assuming for those parts. So those are the 3 main kits that are coming out first that we've known about for a while. Now getting into some of the other stuff that is kind of more new. Now for these we have much less information about them. But the first one being 2 different versions of the Delanza, which seems to be probably like kind of the Zaku of the series, or it really reminds me a lot of the Gyaradoga from Unicorn. So we have the general purpose version, and then we have like the Ace custom version of it, which would be comparable to like Angelo Sapper's version of the Gyaradoga. And that would be the Guel. Again, I'm not sure about the pronunciation of these quite yet, but the Guel version, or the Guel use version of the Delanza. And so this is going to be like the Ace version. This is in like a pinkish purplish color, but if you look at the colors of it on display at the Gundam base, it looks quite different from the promotional images. In the promo images, it looks much darker, but on display, it looks like it's going to be a much lighter color in actuality, unless they change that. But I would assume the images that we see of it on display at the Gundam base, that's the true images of what the kit is going to actually be once you actually get it in the box. This one's coming out in October as well for 1,600 yen, so a little bit more expensive for this one compared to the Gundam Aerial, but it's also a little bit larger. I think I forgot to mention, but the Gundam Lefrith and also the Belgier Bu are also coming out for 1,600 yen, so that's going to be the price for all of these so far, except for the Aerial, which was cheaper at 1,300. But a couple of really interesting points about this design. Number one, it's very reminiscent of the Gushan, I think, is going to be something just based on the design of it. It's going to be something that's going to come to mind for a lot of Gundam fans. The horn on the head, but that really reminds me of like a Japanese beetle, like a Heracross type beetle. The large melee weapons on these also reminiscent of Iron-Blooded Orphans. So this particular one has this massive beam weapon, so it's got this like big beam cross at the end, which I have to say is very cool, very unique design. And obviously the other main unique feature about this, aside from the weapon, the color, the stag beetle horn, is the fact that it's got a big massive feather on the top of the head as well. So I'm really wondering how they're going to, or if they're even going to attempt to explain that in the anime, where they got a feather that size, because think about it, on like a 18 whatever meter tall mobile suit, to have a feather that's probably, I don't know, 3 meters long, something like that, that's got to be from some massive bird. But I would assume they're probably just not even going to mention anything about that, and if they do, it's probably just something that's not a real feather, but just something just made to look like a feather, you know. But this one, just as far as like the actual kit goes, I can assume we're going to have a sticker like for the eye visor section of that. It looks like you can store the rifle up inside the shoulder armor there. And it's definitely a cool design if you like big and bulky mobile suits. The backpack has like these big kind of axe blades, looks like, sticking up on the back, but I'm not sure if those are going to actually be weapons that you can use. Based on what we've seen of it so far, it doesn't look like it's anything other than just part of the backpack. I can assume with this one, the bulk, especially in the legs, is going to hinder the articulation at least a little bit. So I wouldn't expect this one to be like quite as dynamic in its posability, obviously, with it being so chunky. But as far as like the color separation and like the sticker use on this, I would assume the stickers to be pretty minimal, because it's basically just like pink and gray. You only have a couple areas where you have like small little bits of color, and that'd be like the blue sections on the chest, the visor, which I mentioned, and like there's a couple of white bits on the chest there as well. But I can assume they should probably be able to manage all those as separate parts, so I wouldn't expect those to be stickers necessarily. You got a white part for the feather as well, so they'll probably give you at least 1 or 2 white parts that'll fit in the chest there also. Because just looking at the kit on display there at the Gundam base, it looks like pretty much all the colors, as far as I can tell, looking at it, are well represented there, and it looks like they're separate pieces. So that should be pretty cool. That one will definitely be a very interesting one. And then we have the general use version of this, which would basically be like your standard Zaku 2 of the series, or Gyaradoga if we're going to use that comparison. But this one gives you still some options in the kit. You can either make it as the general use version or as the character A use version, which is just a tentative name for it. They've not said the character's name of who exactly that's going to be. Later on, when the kit's actually released, it'll have a certain character's name on it. So you've got some options here basically for the head to make it as 2 different styles, and the shoulder armor is going to be a little bit different, and then The character A use version of that, if that's how you choose to build this, has this very large axe with some gold around the blades. I'm guessing that gold around the blades probably going to be represented with stickers on that, so I would expect to see some gold stickers for that. Otherwise, probably going to be mostly the same as far as stickers go, because generally the design is the same as the Guel use version. Just the shoulders, the head are different. The backpack looks to be a little bit different. It's got just the single blade on the back instead of the big two blades on the back of it. But this one as well, the colors in like the promotional images and the colors of the display model at the Gundam base are very different. They're much different. The display model looking very pastel in its colors and much more darker and more vibrant colors in the promotional images. So not really sure about which way they're going to actually go with that as far as the kit release. But it is going to be pretty interesting. And one thing that you can notice here, just taking a look at one of the promotional images here, like you can see up underneath the back skirt, you can see some big hollow gaps up in there. It is an HG kit, and it's like the underside of a skirt armor, so that's pretty standard to not have like a full detail section up underneath the skirt armor, especially on a grunt mobile suit. But it looks like it's got like a detailed piece that will be set in there on the middle section, and like the side sections of the back skirt will have some hollow gaps in there. So unfortunate, but it's a small thing that shouldn't be too surprising really, to be honest. So those are looking really cool and definitely great if you're a fan of the more chunky mobile suit designs, because they definitely look very chunky. Last thing to note is just that this one is coming out for the same price of 1,600 yen, but 1 month later in November. Next up we have the Gundam Fire Act. This one's coming out in December for 1,900 yen, so more expensive even still. So I'm guessing that this one maybe is going to be a little bit larger. It's kind of hard to tell just based on the images. So far all we have is just these two promotional images of it, just standing and one in like an action pose, but obviously it's got this very long rifle. We can assume it's going to be sort of like a sniper type Gundam, I guess, is going to be its speciality. But it's a very weird and unique design for this one. So, but it is carrying the Gundam name. So, you see that debate going around online sometimes, like, what is a Gundam? What makes a Gundam? This is not something that I would look at and think right off the bat that that's a Gundam design, but, it's a Gundam, so there you go. Kind of hard to tell just based on just the couple images that we have, but this one looks like it's also going to be having some clear parts on the front of the hips, the shoulders, the chest, and in the head. And yeah, we don't have any pictures of what the back of it looks like either, but I do really like how in the standing pose, the feet are like spread out, and then you have this big massive part for the back of the leg, but then in the sniping pose there, where it's basically up flying, whatever, the way that the feet fold up and the part on the back of the foot kind of folds up to the back of the calf looks really cool on there. So I think that's going to be a really cool looking kit, and one that's definitely going to look so much better up in the air, up on an action base. I don't know if it's going to be including an action base or not. That's yet to be seen, of course. For the increase in price in this, I think that could be an explanation as to why this one costs a little bit more, is that maybe it's including an action base, whereas the other ones are not. So that could be the reason, especially if they're displaying it like this, and that's like a big gimmick of the design, like how the feet fold up for when it's in the air, then it kind of makes sense for them to release it with an action base. Next up, the Daryl Valde, also out in December, also for 1,900 yen. So this one as well, I don't know, maybe could be coming with an action base. As far as the design of it, it's not really that much larger than anything we've seen so far. This one, again, has clear parts, just like with all the other designs, in the kind of standard formation, shoulders, front of the hips, chest, head. This one also has a very large melee weapon again, with this big, long, like a beam effect, a sword, which looks really cool. I really like the design of this one, actually. The head is very cool. It really reminds me the G Lucifer head from Reconquista in G, how it kind of had similar shape to it anyway. And those big shoulder parts are really cool. Those big shield kind of binders there on the shoulder are very interesting design. I really like that. Definitely makes this stand out. Without those, I don't know if it would really, stand out quite as much. So that's definitely a very cool defining feature of this one, and also has the big pointy knees, the really cool looking feet on this. So yeah, I'm really liking this design. I think it's probably one of my favorites that we've got so far coming out from this series. The colors look cool with the red and a black color scheme with the white accents. Hopefully this actually gets molded in a kind of little bit pale red color like it actually looks in these images, rather than like a bright red plastic. I hope that's not the way they go with this. We'll have to see, but this one, just based on the design, looks like it's related to the Dilanza, so I'm guessing that maybe this is like kind of a later version, or it's also like used by the same faction of what I can assume would be enemy forces using the Delanza. This one is another kind of like ace unit or something like that, because it's the design. It's not like sharing a lot of the features necessarily, but it looks similar just in like the design of it, but obviously a much less chunky version. And then we have our gyms of the series, which are going to be the Demi Trainers. So we have just the standard one that's coming out for the low price of 1,200 yen in December. The standard Demi Trainer here. Again, looking a little bit different, a little bit darker in the promo images here, but the display one looking like basically like a minty off-white color. I really like the design of this. It's kind of interesting. Again, really reminds me of something out of Reconquista NG, but I mean, that's fine. The design is pretty cool. It has that more kind of blocky look compared to the more rounded look, so that's a very typical Gundam trope. The gyms are usually a little bit more angular, whereas like the Zakus of the series are usually a little bit more curvy, and that's definitely holding true in this series here as well. It looks like, as far as like what you get with this, it's looking pretty basic. You got like your shield, you're like very similar to like a gym spray gun, a very small little gun there it's got, and then it looks like it has a beam saber that's like hilted there in the side, but I'm not really too sure. So far we don't have any images of that. You can just see the handle of it sticking out, and I can just assume that that's a beam saber handle or something similar to that, but we'll have to see when we get some more details. Hopefully on the 20th is when we'll get some more details on this one as well, but this kit's not coming out until December, so still got a little ways to go. And then we also have the character B use version of this, which does look very cool. This one it's got different hands, it's got a much different weapon, it's got a much more substantial weapon that actually is attached onto the front, so kind of similar to the XS Gundam, how it has this beam smart gun that's attached onto the front of its crotch basically, and then it can be swiveled around, also similar to like the gun from Aliens, if you guys remember that one. It's got a different head design on there too, and so all these option parts that are different on this are also going to be available in a separate option set as well. So first off, just the Character B dedicated version here of the Demi Trainer is coming out in November, so earlier actually, for 1,400 yen. But then in December, when the standard Demi Trainer is coming out, there is also going to be the expansion part set coming out for 800 yen, which is pretty expensive for an expansion part set. Normally it would be like 500, 600 yen, maybe 700 yen, but 800 yen, I know it's not that much of a difference, but it is a noticeable difference compared to other part sets before. But basically what this is just kind of all the parts that will allow you to make different hands and different weapons for the Demi Trainer. So you'll have some different options for how you want to make the weapons on that, basically, so you can make different versions of that. So in December, when the standard Demi Trainer comes out, you can also pick up the expansion set, so maybe get like 2 or 3 of the regular Demi Trainer and get an expansion set, and then you can customize each one to be a little bit different from each other, which is pretty cool. So I actually really like the look of those. Those are looking pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing those as just like, again, like the gyms of the series. And that's it for all of the HG stuff. We do also have the SDEX Gundam Aerial coming out. Again, this is something we have known about for a little bit, but we got some more images of this. With it being an SDEX model, obviously you can expect all those cool clear parts we had on the HG to just be stickers. Unfortunately for this one, it does look like it has a clear part for the head though, so that'll be cool. But like on the chest, the legs, and everywhere else, obviously with it being an SD kit, and especially with it being an SDEX standard kit, there's going to be a lot of stickers on there. The rifle, you can see in the shot of this here on display at the Gundam base, the rifle is like very paper thin, again very standard for this X standard line. But the good thing is though, compared to other kits that have come out in the line, is that it doesn't have the hollow gaps in the back side of it. So around the back of the legs and the back of the arms, everywhere it's got full detail without any hollow gaps. I'm sure it's probably got some hollow gaps on the underside of the feet. Other than that, I mean, at least it doesn't have hollows in the back of the legs, so I mean, that's something. Really don't know why Bandai abandoned the SD cross silhouette line and went back to the SDX standard line. As far as I know, I don't know anyone who really prefers the SDX standard line, but maybe it's just, well, it's not maybe, I can make a pretty good assumption that the SDX standard line is just cheaper for Bandai to produce. And the kits are then cheaper as well, and so, you know, in Japan, families taking their kids to the store and the kids looking at all the Gundam models, if you have a little SD kit of the Gundam that he's watching on TV, if it costs 500 yen versus if it costs 900 yen or 1,000 yen for an SD cross silhouette kit, or, you know, 1100, 1200 yen, maybe something like that, obviously parents or kids wanting to spend their allowance money or whatever the case is are going to be more wanting to spend, 500 yen for an SD kit. And so I think that's kind of the reason why they're just sticking with that. It's not really having anything to do with which kits are objectively like the better kits or the more preferred kits among like Gundam modelers, but just what's going to sell easier. And I think that's probably why they're going with SDX standard. But we do also have Gundam Gashapon stuff coming out of the Gundam Aerial and MS Ensemble, and also SD Forte versions of the Gundam Aerial here. So just a couple of little images of those. Nothing really too much to say about that. The Mobile Suit Ensemble 23 is coming out in October for 500 yen for that one, whereas the SD Forte version is going to be 400 yen and coming out in December. Personally, I don't collect either of those lines. I can assume there's going to be a Gundam Converge figure coming out of that, and that's what I'll have, because I like Gundam Converge. Last thing then is some character model kits and figures. So we've got Figure as Standard model kits coming out for both Sleda Mercury and Murine Rebran. Sleda is coming out in October for 3,200 yen. Murine is coming out in November for 3,200 yen for these. I've just, in my experience with the Figure as Standard line it's just every time I want to try it, I just am always disappointed with it. These look nice, but that's always how I get tricked into trying out the Figure as Standard kits, is that they look nice, and then I get it, and I end up just kind of being disappointed with it. So I don't know. I do really like the look of these. They do look cool. They're like the same issues, I'm sure, are still going to be there, and that the posability of them is pretty awful. The hand option, the face options look pretty good. I will give them that. But the hand options still look pretty terrible. The open hand pose is just so unusable and awkward. It's just like such a weird pose for open hands. So I don't know why they don't either have it like more open and expressive, or like resting is kind of what are the typical expressions like for the Kotobukiya Megami Device kits, for example. Those have really great hand options. These ones are like a very weird in-between pose that just kind of doesn't really make sense. But it does also come with an orange haro, and like I said, the face and the hair, I mean everything like from the chest up looks really good on this kit. It's only when you get to like the arms and the legs and the hands and everywhere that actually like moves on the kit is where these kits tend to just kind of fall apart a little bit. Not literally, but just kind of in terms of them being a little bit disappointing for me in my experience. So I'm not sure about these, but the Murine one, we only have just the one single image of it so far. Again, it looks nice in terms of like just the character design being represented in the model kit here, but again, I'm just hesitant because I know what my experience has been like with the Figure as Standard line in the past. But barring that, we do also have an SH Figure Arts version of Sleda Mercury, and also SH Figure Arts mini versions of Sleda Mercury and Murine Rembrandt coming out as well. The nice thing about these is that they're pre-built and pre-painted and everything, so if you just wanted a nice figure to be able to just buy and just take out of the box and just be able to have it already there, right there for you. She looks pretty good. Not really into this stuff myself, but for those of you guys who are into just more kind of figures rather than model kits, this might be something that you're interested in, SH Figure Arts, rather than the Figure as Standard line. But that about does it, guys. So a lot of new stuff on the way from this series. It seems like it's been a while since we've had a series where we're getting a lot of kits, especially like a lot of new HG kits coming out from a series. It's been a while, so it'll be nice to get kind of back in that rhythm of getting some new HG kits out every month from an ongoing anime series. I'm looking forward to that. As far as the designs go, like I said, for me personally, I'm still kind of like on the fence as to how much I really like some of them, but they're definitely interesting. They're definitely unique, so I think that's good that Bandai's, always trying out, a little bit different designs, and we'll see how well they work as kits. Like I said, the series reminds me a lot so far of Reconquista and G. And the HD Reconquista and G kits were pretty disappointing overall. I think that's maybe a little bit of understatement, but if we're going to base our expectations off of that comparison, it's not looking good, but these kits definitely do look a lot better than those, at least at this point. So we'll see once they start coming out what we can expect from the quality. I think we'll be able to tell, whatever kit comes out first, which will be the Gundam Lefrith and the Belgier Bu coming out in August. I think we'll be able to tell from those kits what the rest of the series is going to be like, because if those kits are like similar to the Reconquista and GHG kits, then we can assume probably the rest of the line is going to be similar to that. You know, with the Gundams, it looks like we've got some cool clear parts that they're doing with that, and that seems to be kind of like the main like new kind of engineering feature that they're building into these kits. But otherwise, other than that, I mean, can't really expect them to be anything other than just kind of pretty standard HG kits. But you know, there is quite a wide range. So you have like some HG kits which are like the HG Moon Gundam, for example, and then you have like the HG G-Reco kits. I mean, like, just because it's HG, there's not really any way to know exactly where it's going to fall on that spectrum until we get the kits in hand and we're actually able to start putting them together and posing them and seeing how well they do and seeing how good they look. But anyway, let me know your guys' thoughts and expectations. Which designs are you most looking forward to? Which kits or figures are you most looking forward to? Let me know in the comment section below. And of course, some of this stuff, if not all this stuff, I know we've already got up for pre-order on USA Gundam Store. So if you are interested in pre-ordering any of this stuff to make sure that, you know, when it's out and when it's released and available to us here, that you're guaranteed to have it rather than, you know, having to try to fight scalpers if you don't get it right away. It's just an option for you guys, but the link to USA Gundam Store, of course, will be down in the video description below, as always. So thank you guys for checking out the video today, and I'm looking forward to hearing your guys' thoughts. So if you'd also like to like the video or subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated. But until next time, hope you guys are all having a great day. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.